Hello, I'm going to do a reading from the Alchemystic Tarot. It's a Woodcut tarot, or the Alchemystic Woodcut tarot. DW, Prudence, Secret Wisdom of the Ages. All right. We have some that came out already. We have Temperance and Ace of Pages. All right. Let's find out what they mean. And Temperance is an explanation of its own, but let's find out where the picture came from for the Temperance. Typus Occasionus, 1603. And the symbolism and comments. Temperance card represents choice between God and evil. It shows Jesus and wisdom as reversed images, discussing the two options. The garden in the foreground contains the cross of Christ, and then the background is the Garden of Eden. The serpent is shown in the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and Adam and Eve are shown being driven out of the garden by an angel with a flaming sword. Genesis chapter 3, verse 24. With the knowledge of good and evil, suffering entered the world, but it is through challenges that we are able to grow in our understanding and discernment and become like God. Become like God. This card represents self-control, choices, and consequences, deciding between good and evil. Okay, that's Temperance. I'm finding the Ace of Mage. Deciding between good and evil. It's in every moment. Is it done if it's thought? Do you stop it before you hear it? Okay, this picture was from the Book of Life. It was printed 1898. Symbolism and comments. The image on the Ace of Mages card shows a palmistry reed or hand with talisman in the background. Talisman. Okay. Divination and symbolism are key aspects of magic. Palmistry involves interpreting aspects of a person's hand by comparing its features to traditional means that have been assigned to the different areas of it. Palm reading is similar to the process of reading tarot cards because the meaning-shaped lines provide abstract framework for allowing the reader to apply rational discussion to the abstract information. The concept of free will and predestination are incorporated in the palmistry. The information contains a person's non-dominant hand contained in the non-dominant hand shows the character traits the person was born with, destiny. And the information on the person's dominant hand shows what the person has done with his, her life free will. When reading a person's palm, information from both palms is considered. The hands have 10 fingers, which is a very variable reminder of the 10 Commandments and the 10 Sephirot of the Kabbalah. 10 fingers are separated onto hands, representing the pillars of mercy and severity of the Kabbalah. Experience demonstrates that we are stronger when we use both of our hands together, which reflects the characteristics of the middle pillar of the Kabbalah, having reached an appropriate harmony of the opposite polarities and developed the ability to correctly balance the principles of justice and mercy in one's judgment. In the background are 4 talismans, taken from the key of the Solomon, the king, starting at the top right. King of Solomon, the king, started at the top right is the 6th pinnacle of Mars, which is a talisman of protection in warfare. It includes a verse from Psalms, chapter 37, verse 15. To the left of it is the 2nd pinnacle of Mars, with a hexagram on it, which is used to fight off disease and is to be applied to the affected body area. Written down the center of it is the name Yeshua, Jesus' name, or Jesus, is Hebrew, in Hebrew letters, and around it is verse from 4 John, first chapter, verse 4. Immediately above the thumb of the 4th pinnacle of Mars, which is said to give victory, and the 5th pinnacle on the card is the 3rd pinnacle of Mars, which is said to assist in resisting enemies, and it includes Psalms 77:13, chapter 77, verse 13. Creating talisman is one of the more artistic aspects of the magical arts and involves combining symbolism and ritual to produce charms of reminders of the magician's intention. They may incorporate religious imagery or zodiac symbols and often include sigils. A sigil is a symbol that is created using a magic square and is usually limited to a single word or name. Sigils are made by using a magic square that is significant to the purpose of the talisman. Magic square added up, any vertical, horizontal, or diagonal row column comes to the same value, 175, in the magic square of Venus below. So, Temperance and the Ace of Mages. So they show the sigil. Further information. This gets in depth with this particular card. Might freeze frame that if you want to look at it. In order to create a sigil, a magic square was the desired attribute of the talisman is selected. For example, to create an amulet related to love, the magic square or Venus would be used, since Venus is the Roman goddess of love and beauty. Next, the magician would select a key word that is related to the purpose of the talisman. And in this example, we will use the word love. To convert the word love into numbers, you can determine the Hebrew word for love, which would already be numbers associated with each letter, or you can use the Western letter conversion chart above, which you freeze framed earlier, right? Using the conversion chart, the word love would be charted into number 3, 6, 4, 5. To change those numbers into the sigil, you would mark the first letter with a dot and then draw lines connecting the numbers and finishing with a crossing line to mark the end of the word. sigils provide the magician with a symbol that it is meaningful only to the person who created it, since only he or she knows which magic square was used and what the key word is. Talisman can serve as reminders of self-affirmations the magician can use to keep focused on his or her goals. However, within grimoires, sigils represent the name of demons and angels and their associated planetary attributes, which the magician believes gives him or her power over the entities. They believe knowing the entity's sigils gives the magician power over it, and in the same way, they believe knowing the name of the names of entities, superior spirits, allows the spirit to be controlled. Within the tarot, its associated path with Kabbalah, the magician card represents a mystery of wisdom and the person serving God's conduit on earth. However, within the realm of magic, there are many false doctrines, and there is a thin line between wisdom and folly. The suit of the mages is meant to explore different aspects of magic and the spiritual growth of a magician. Eliphas Levi was a magician and Catholic who inspired evolutions in magic, the tarot, and believed the magic, alchemy, science, and Christianity were compatible. Science, notwithstanding, is at the basis of magic. As at the foundation of Christianity, there is love, and in the gospel symbols we see the Word incarnated, adored in the cradle by three magi, led thither by a star, and receiving their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. A second mystery, triplicities, under which emblems the highest secret of the Kabbalah are allegorically contained. Christianity owes, therefore, no hatred to magic, but human ignorance has ever stood in the fear of the unknown. Science was driven into hiding to escape the impassioned assaults of the blind love. It clothed itself with new hieroglyphics, dissimulated its labors, denied its hopes. Then it was the jargon of alchemy was created, a permanent deception for vulgar. The original alliance of Christianity and the science of magi once is thoroughly demonstrated, will be a discovery of new second-rate importance, and we question not the serious study of magic and the Kabbalah will lead earnest minds to the reconciliation of science and dogma, of reason and faith. Eliphas Levi. Levi believed Christianity was compatible with magic, but that due to ignorance, magic had to go underground and conceal itself within the symbolism of the alchemy to Hermeticism. Practical Kabbalah and the Rose Cross, magic is a broad subject which includes divination, talisman, ritual, astrology, and ceremonial magic. The suite explores magic rituals as prayer in action. It's linked to the alchemy, the Rose Cross, and then contrast wisdom and folly by examining ceremonial magic and demonology. It observes how a magician grows in discernment and advances beyond magic into unity with God. The hexagram is studied as a harmony of the complementary opposites, and in its ultimate fulfillment as unity between God and humanity. The card represents free will and predestination and marks the start of the magician's pursuit of self-discovery. The answer to life's questions are there, but the magician needs to learn how to interpret the information, learn discernment, and read the signs. Throughout this pursuit, the magician will use free will while making the path of destiny, and final destination will be the result of the magician's decisions. And that was the end of that reading for the Ace of Mages. Woo! That had some powerful information there. A magician's final destination being his oneness with God, and temperance being a discussion of the choice of the good and evil. I like that reading today. I learned a lot. I'm going to have to come back and listen to myself. I apologize about any reading disabilities that I've displayed, and I hope you've been able to follow along without too much annoyance with the slow verse there. But it's one of those basic things that I never really could completely overcome. Anyway, as a magician, I might make a sigil to create clarity in my reading.